So we didn't do a
Oh, there we
countdown, and
go.
we are live.
And we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? It's another episode with some technical difficulties because it's becoming part of our brand at this point. I'm
We're only
Courtney
7 minutes late, which isn't
Fernandez.
bad.
It's not too bad, but we made it. We're here, and Steve is here, and I'm
Hello.
Courtney Fernandez, and you're and Allie. You know how to introduce yourself.
Yeah, and I'm Ali G. We already did that.
You found it. All right.
Whoa. Just to
We
play
found
the
the countdown.
song.
Nice.
Oh,
To do it.
nice. And then dipped out. That's funny. What I was saying, I don't remember what I was saying. What did you ask? I'm in San Antonio right now at the AHTD, Association of High Technology Distribution. So like all the brands we know are here, and then all the distributors of those brands are here. And then there's some integrators here, but those other two groups take a lot of that space up. But it's a really cool keynote speaker so far.
Very cool.
And where
You
are
and
the
Nick
rest of
are
you
both
guys?
there, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Where are you at, Steve?
I'm in my office in Michigan, Farm Hills. So
All right. I'm in. A lot of you guys know I'm in California, and I think you're breaking up a little bit, Steve.
oh no.
Steve, are you going to Automate?
I do. I know it's next month, so I'm hoping to make it out there. I know if so, it'll be for one day.
All right. Right on. You gotta find us for that. If you guys are in the audience and you're going to Automate, please drop comments. Tell us what days you're going to be there. Just
Are
trying
you
to make
going
sure
with
we're solid. I'll be there with URG in an exhibitor booth babysitting a demo. So I'll be there the entire time if anybody wants to come find a moving robot.
When is that? May 6th through 9th?
May 6th through 9th. Coming up very shortly.
Yeah, I should probably buy tickets.
Oh, yes. And I think we got a Airbnb or something figured out, but yeah, for all the exhibitors out there trying to jam a demo out the door. I'm right there.
Yeah, Godspeed.
With y'all. Godspeed. It is a crazy time right now. So I believe the sponsor of this episode is the Assembly Show, and that's where we're going to be on the 1st and the 2nd in Tennessee. So anybody out planning to attend that show, there'll be a booth with shenanigans occurring, so we had to make sure to shout them out. And we start most episodes the same way. Steve, you want to tell us how is it that you fumbled your way into automation, or was it a plan?
It wasn't so much of a plan. I would say, robots always get interesting. But I went my first robot or community college.
Hey, Steve, we're getting like every other word, I think. I don't know if you've got like a background noise or anything.
Nothing. It might be maybe if Allie mutes, maybe it's her. I don't.
Allie,
Is
Okay.
that better?
that's better.
All right. Yeah, I think
I
that
think
was
it's
it.
trying to argue about who to give audio to. I can hear you much
Yeah.
better now.
You'll beat me every time. But yeah. So mostly started community college robots. And I tripped and fell, and that's when I met you in California, and just fell into machine vision. So, with that, the robots are always right there with it, and my background's always been with welding, so I'm still trying to at the point to marry the two to get the robots welding. And That's where I'm at right now. Obviously, a lot of machine building back in California, vision system integration. Right now, mostly mechanical builds and not much automation, but getting there. So trying to add some panels to some of the machines we're building.
Right on. So how old were you when you decided you were gonna start welding, or when you started pursuing that?
So since a child, I've been fixing and building and tearing things apart, I guess is where it starts, destroying things. And
Of
so I've
course.
always been building. It started as wanting to be a carpenter, working with wood, and then it led into vocational school and high school where I kind of fell into welding. And you can never cut it too short. You can always weld it back together, and pretty much that gave me the keys to be able to do whatever I need to. And there's always a need for a welder, and just stayed at that. And it's just gone from welding to being a career as to more being a tool, and then trying to integrate all the other stuff together to make a full system.
That's right. Yeah, I like the transition of it, going from being like a career to a tool. It's an interesting way to see it, because I saw the same thing with engineering recently. I was like, this is more of a thing I do to get the actual thing done, which is
Yeah,
whatever that evolves into.
yeah, it's a value add, and you can't lose the skill. So you can then train others, and that's where I'm at now, is trying to train others at what I do. We're trying to bring other people up, and then I can focus on higher level either layouts or whatever it is. But if I need to, also I can get down and weld where I need.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being able to turn the wrench, no matter how far up you move. It's kind of a, like you said, nobody can take away the skills you already know. I also like the shift in the last several years that I've seen of just people mostly used to be afraid, in my personal experience, to train others because they were worried that they were training their replacement. Or if I teach you this, I've got to hold on to my 5%, so I stay irreplaceable. And now, the people that are best at, giving up all of the skills and, teaching newbies is really like the most valuable person in the company, is the person that can actually make like the youngins know what to do.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to teach, and especially it takes you a long time to learn it all. So, but no matter what, they can't learn what you know in the amount of time you put into it. So you just got to grow.
There's no fast forward button.
You wish there was, but that fast up, quick down, right?
That's right. Yep. So you started your welding career in Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many years did you have to do that before you decided to come over to sunny California and see what we had over here?
Not long. I mean, I was always wanting to get out west, so it was just a matter of time. And I was probably welding like 5 or 6 years, and then I, cut my wrist welding a pipe up in the air in a boom lift, and almost lost my life welding. So I tried to get out of welding, and really as part of it was just to leave and figure out something new, and figure out. And that's why I tripped and fell into the division systems.
There you go.
So yeah.
So that's that injury, that like, how long were you out with that injury, and how did it kind of change, you know what I mean, like your priorities when you're out on the floor? Obviously it's going to make you take safety more seriously, but
Right. So
like that, I just curious if you want to share more about that experience or not.
Oh yeah, of course, for sure. Now I can be called Safety Steve from time to time on site, but I'm happy to call people out. And really, I was trying to protect the piece of equipment below me when I injured my arm. Not to mention kind of rushing to get to lunch, but that's the major thing, is never put the equipment over yourself. And things are always going to go wrong, so you just got to let stuff go sometimes, you know, if you got to choose. And people who are aligned to their companies or whatever will just don't, you can't take that fall, you know.
The equipment is far easier to replace than you are. It's always going to be the reality. And
So luckily I
yeah,
got full back. I'm blessed. My hand works, but I could have been worse. So just cut a couple tendons.
it's funny to hear you say, you know, to admit like, yeah, I might have been like in a little hurry to go to lunch, because it's like you know, for me, I had my own, you know, I need to get out of there moment. It was actually during our collective H&J days, but I put my hand in a nest while a system was actually awake, and I didn't realize that it was awake. And a little baby, you know, 0.5 kilogram Scara came and put a part down on top of my hand. And the fact that it was, you know, just a 0.5 kilogram Scara is really the only reason why it didn't injure me more than it could have. And it hurt like a son of a gun, but it was a good reminder, like, dang, I still have my hand. Like, you don't realize until you have a close one that you're like, I really do a lot of stuff with my hand. Oh my God. I really don't want to screw that up. But complacency is, you know, by the time you spot it, you've probably already made a significant mistake.
Right. So yeah, just gotta learn from that. And that's another thing I teach, you know, you're your own safety person. So being where I'm at, a lot of risk, unfortunately, a lot of insurance cost, but it's a part of it. So you just got to be like aware and make sure people don't get hurt.
Exactly. So by the time you relocated to California, that's kind of around when I met you, and we had done vision systems together. But what was the ultimate reason that you shifted when you got here from, you know, you were still doing welding, but to add the vision system skill? Like, what was the motivator there?
It just, you know, do more. Like, you know, I knew at that point that welding was just a tool, you know, so I was able to do that and build the hardware and mechanical side. Well, you could focus on the electrical, and we would come up with a solution pretty quickly. I'm always solution oriented and an inventor by heart. So it's making something from nothing. You know, you got materials, and one way or another, we'll get it to work. It might not be pretty, but
Yeah,
the first
pretty
one will work.
is, yeah, pretty comes second after
Right.
functional. So you and I both worked for a small company versus a large one. And I know that I found Greg because I was poking around, you know, already in this industry, but looking for a, you know, a different direction in a, you know, change in the work that I was doing. How did you ultimately end up finding Greg in H&J and like the opportunity to do vision in the first place?
I'll have to say shout out to Keans, really, because they hired a good friend of mine. So, you know, Greg was doing work for, and shout out to Max, you know, doing work with Max and building small systems and through the grapevine. That's how I've got every job, you know, really. Not, I don't no job postings really ever worked well for me. So you just got to go out and hunt it. And that was one of those ones where I drove from San Diego for 3 months to El Torrance for work.
How many minutes total commute was that? Because that is not a short one.
I think it was 80 hours a month. I ended up looking at it, and I could have a whole nother part-time job.
Oh, if you're like cold calling or something the whole time you're sitting in traffic.
Right.
FYI, I recently learned this, that you could find cold callers for you that are like not just, I mean, they're full-time sales guys, but that's just all they'll do is you hand them a list and they'll cold call for you. And
sounds brutal.
It does sound brutal, but just to, you know, I had mentioned that to another salesperson who responded to me with, man, I'd take back the list of just who answered the phone, you know,
right,
with your giant list of leads. But I had several good memories of, you know, working for a small company versus a large company, which was the case for you and I at H&J Solutions. We had a lot of projects that we did that was just, 3 people. And one of the reasons I bring it up a lot, especially during the podcast, is because the ability to understand a machine like from top to bottom is, I don't want to say rare, but most of the people that I know that have all that knowledge have gained it through, trial by fire. And in the process of having a company where it's just 3 people, so on like my side, it was electrical. So if I drew the schematic and then I was out there wiring it, if you've ever had that moment where you're thinking to yourself, like, what idiot designed, something to be run this way? And I had to sit there and look at the schematic and sit there with the wire in my hand going, it's me. I'm the idiot. I'm the one that did that. So from your perspective, it was more on the mechanical side, but what was some of the pro on that for getting to see like the top down, design of the machine?
I mean, it was the flexibility to kind of design what I saw fit. I think there's a lot of working with Greg. Shout out to Greg, but that was the fun that I liked, is to fit it all together and test it. And we did a lot of 3D design, but especially with vision, you can't really test that in any type of software before trying it. So you just had to build the sample and run it through and tweak the tools, or tweak the mechanical, or tweak the electrical until until it gave way to our will.
Until the machine submits.
Pretty much how Greg would put it, I would think.
That is, that's something is going to submit, and it's going to be you or a piece of metal. Wow, I always, at some point, have to take a nap, but I never relent. What's out of all the projects that we did, what was the one that taught you the most as far as like the design life cycle?
I would say the one I value the most in my memory is the one for the seatbelt clips. I don't know if I should say the name or not, so I'll just say.
Yeah, it's always fun, and whether the contracts are still valid, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll just honor that. But yeah, inspecting seatbelt clips, all sides, top to bottom, making it reject and pass all these parts thousands a day, walking away for months and going back and seeing it still working, relatively the same, is a miracle until you see it.
You want to have more faith in the thing working. So you show up and you're like, oh, it still works. And then you gotta like play it off. You're like, no, I knew it was still going to be working. It's not a surprise.
You think, what something's going to go bad in electrical or optics or something, but yeah, it continues chugging.
So aside from, because we talked a little bit about, having had become a little bit complacent on a job site, but aside from, complacency and obvious safety mistakes, what is, one of the mistakes that we made, that you made, but what's the best mistake, honestly, like the best right home mistake that you've ever witnessed out in the field? Doesn't have to be one that taught you a good lesson. Just what's the best?
I don't know if it was a mistake per se, but the Red Bull one kind of comes to mind, and that vision, it was just a little cobbled, but I'm trying to think of another like failure we had, but maybe the car wash.
All right.
Yeah,
there was a couple of fun mistakes from my end that I could think of, but what would be I'll go ahead and share mine. We had a robot on a 7th axis, and I did not secure the cables well enough for a camera system that was going to scan before performing motion. And we hooked that cable on the product as the 7th axis was moving. So I actually ripped the connector out of the camera entirely, which happens to be one of the more expensive things you can do to a vision system before rescuing it. So that particular project, that was my favorite. Having lassoed the product unintentionally.
It's a good one.
Yeah. How about the mistake that taught you the most, regardless of how interesting it was? Or one that changed how you do things in the future?
Yeah, I just have to go back to cutting my arm. That's the biggest one that's just always there. So, you know, but every day picking up something and trying to get better than yesterday. Main goal.
1% better every day.
Little by little.
So today you're back at Michigan, growing sanitary welding, right?
Yep.
What's your facility like now? Because I still intend to go visit it, but I've seen it in pictures, and it seems like every time you share a picture with me, it's it's obviously the same building, but there's more stuff in it. So how's when did you end up back in your facility, and how have you grown since you've been there?
So we've been here since 2020, pretty much March 2020 when we left LA. Started up here not long, I think September, and then just been filling out. I didn't know how it would go moving back here, but it's been going well. Lots of business. So we're trying to grow. Right now we're already slammed in this facility. We're going to be moving into a facility 3 times its size. So you probably
Congratulations.
might miss this one, Courtney, but I'm hoping within 2 months we'll be out of here if everything works out.
Wow. That's growing pains are good pains to have.
Right.
So is the motivation for bigger projects or for more people or both or?
Both. I'm trying not to grow too many people too fast, but we need more space. We need a forklift. This new facility is blessed to have a crane, so we'll have a little overhead crane. I'm working to get a plate roller so I can start making bigger custom vessels.
Okay.
And that's what we're working towards now. We're doing a lot more passivation stuff and getting into better ways to professionally passivate and clean parts before they're put back into operation for some of the pharmaceutical and beverage facilities. So
okay.
trying to put a lot.
Is that primarily the service that you guys offer, or what is the what is your guys' primary playground?
Process pipe, stainless
Process
steel
pipe.
piping, food grade, pharmaceutical grade. We're getting to RA finish. We have all of our tools have been scanned by a Keyence microscope. So we know our tooling, we know the RA finish of our tooling, and we can get pretty darn good results. I mean, we to the next level is electro polish. We don't do that yet, but we do all our own passivation to a point. We don't passivate our CIP lines, but there's just a lot of push towards sanitary and getting things to the next level of clean. I think the FDA is getting involved with even just looking at welds and inspecting, and I don't know how they were doing that years ago, but now I even get jobs kind of mandated by the FDA. Things need to be fixed, and we're half welding, but we're half grinding and polishing. Become a big part of what we do. I got all 3M specialized abrasives for stainless and keeping special tools to get in nooks and crannies and grinding down all the welds so they have a RA wash down finish.
Very cool. And I gotta claim ignorance here, but what is passivating? What does that process look like?
Basically, if you weld stainless, you heat it up past a point that the chromium layer has been destroyed. So it's no longer stained. And the free iron gets attracted to it, and it essentially can rust. So in order to prevent that, all the welded areas or areas that have been heat worked or ground need to be passivated, so they have it's a microscopic, a few micron layer of chromium. That's
Interesting. Okay. And that prevents things from being able to basically for it to not be able to rust in the future.
Yeah,
Does that prevent any other kind of corrosion?
Even water on stainless over time will start to, can erode and degrade the tubing. So in some of these guys I talked to in the pharmaceutical industry, they got to really design their water systems and clean them regularly. So, because there's free iron in the water, so it can build up.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, honestly, but that's because I'm a Sparky. So this is like down to stringent requirements by pharmaceutical, and I assume food and beverage is similar. Where you got to do this, like say the pipe's going to carry. I know you did breweries for a while. Like, do you have to do something similar for anything carrying beer? Yeah.
All passivated. I mean, in the professional areas, they should be. Some aren't as clean as others, but yeah, all the lines, breweries, in the pot plant are regularly CIP. They call it clean. So there's a lot there.
Do you still serve primarily like pharmaceutical, food and beverage? Like that's your wheelhouse? Or you
Pretty
serve?
goes all over. Food is a big portion. Beer is a big portion. Pharmaceuticals growing for us. Semi-newer in the last little bit, we were finally able to produce the paperwork to deal with.
I'm sorry, I lost audio for just a second. Are you still there?
Yeah, my brother said he wasn't able to join too. I don't know. But either way, yeah, just passivation. It's a big part of what we do.
Yeah, interesting. We're live on YouTube, but not live on LinkedIn. So not sure what happened there, but it's still going to get recorded and released as an audio episode. We've had a lot of just technical difficulties. I don't know if there's like an electronics version of like Mercury being in retrograde, but it seems like something with the electronic world has gone awry. We had a lot of trouble actually a couple of episodes ago, even getting audio and video going on an episode. So I'm glad we can at least see your face.
You can hear me now. Too bad Allie bailed after I muted her, but sorry.
Oh, no. She actually, Nikki and Allie are both at an AHTD show today. And there is actually like a lot of background noise over there. So it makes enough sense, that we just do this, you and me today, so that we don't record all the other attendants at that show.
No worries.
And yeah, I am actually looking forward to running into as many folks as I can at Automate this year. I haven't had time to be like excited about the show because I've been so, head buried in getting like a demo out for it. It's funny that it feels to me like the show doesn't actually exist until that crate goes onto the truck and I see the truck driving away. And then all of a sudden it kind of starts to sink in like, oh yeah, hey, I'm actually going to see some of these people I don't get to see very often. Now I'm not going to remember who it was, but somebody made the joke that it's like a goofed up family reunion. for all the people that meet up on LinkedIn. But if you do happen to make it for a day of Automate, what day do you think you're most likely to be there at the show? We can all
Whatever
come
day
harass you.
after party, I'm not.
Oh, we do have to figure out the after dark party. That's going to be an important one.
It's like just where the networking happens. So
That's the best part about the trade shows.
so let me know how that. Yeah, let me know. I was gonna reach out to you. I talked to Greg. So once I knew he was going, it made me more apt to try to get down there, and I want to see that new robot he's got.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a handful of demos in the United Robotics Group booth, showing off actually like 4 different industries. So not just industrial automation. So it's going to, show off some other interesting robots that you wouldn't normally see at Automate. So it's if you have not like if you're at Automate, you're probably not going to have like an application for it necessarily, but if you want to come see, cool humanoid robots, it's a hot topic right now. What's your take on I mean, not like 6-axis robot arms, with vision, but straight up like full on humanoid robots? How do you feel about those, and using them not necessarily to do your work, but to use them to, assist in various things in the future? No?
No, I'll die old. I'll do it myself. I'll have a robot with 6-axis that welds for me. I can handle that. I can't handle a humanoid in my house near my children. In no way.
So if you saw one, just like in industry, the way we've been implementing 6-axis robot arms and trying to give, just an industrial robot arm vision or perception of some kind, so it can do stuff. Do you see that do you see a humanoid, in the same way in a factory, with perception and being collaborative and all that? Do you see any applications where that would be like a thing that we could implement now?
With the technology that's available, or was there that it could be?
I'm not sure I caught the whole question there. The audio got a little chunky.
Like with the technology that's available in the humanoid and what they can do for us, or
Yeah. Like right now we're doing pick and place and palletizing product at the end of a line. If you had a semi-functional humanoid robot, what would you try to use it for, if anything?
grinding.
Grinding. Okay. I like that concept.
I mean, it's the worst thing we do right now. A lot of, but it's hard. You got to get in weird places and do maneuvers. But
You're
that's
right.
what I automate as soon as I can. Besides welding, is getting some automated polishing. There's a lot good.
So how much role do you think, vision versus other forms of inspection are going to play with that? Because I know that when it comes to, grinding and welding, we're using 2D vision systems to just kind of inspect the overall quality of it. But as we get to like, the ability to use laser and really like see more details about it, what's important to know about the quality of a weld and what technology best identifies that?
Just strength, safety. Ultimately, it comes from my point of view as a business owner. It's insurance that it's not going to cause any issues or future problems. But yeah, inspecting is a whole nother thing. Most of the inspecting world is all visual. There's definitely no ASME requirements for laser inspection of the outside of the weld.
So in the world of automating a weld, let's say the inspection reveals something unacceptable, what is the, like, what are we able to do when we identify problems? Can we are we forced to scrap it? Can we go back and do something to correct it?
Most,
You know,
yeah, depends. But most of the time, I would say more often than not, yeah, you can fix it if you can find it. And, you know, having good eyes, and after you get snowblind after looking at the same part a million times, and, small pinholes, you know, I feel like there's just, for just inspecting, there's a whole field that could be with a specialized laser. Yeah, I don't know. There's just something there. I don't know where it's at yet.
would we be able to take information about it and like make another pass over it automatically? You know, I'm just curious at like what level of automation are we at versus, you know, a human still needing to come in and say, no, that needs to be this much higher, this much wider, you know, to actually intervene and tell it what to do versus it using a camera system and saying it needs to be, you know, based on what I saw, this much higher, this much, you know, I'm not, I wish I knew more to ask the question better, but
Yeah, really, you're not the best one to ask, to be honest, because I don't have an automated system yet. But from my not human will think program, it won't just automatically go back or anything. Definitely.
I feel
But
like I
most
got
stuff,
25% of that answer. I'm sorry.
sorry,
Oh,
most of the systems are still MIG welding.
that doesn't surprise me to hear. While I was with UR for the period of time that I was, I feel like more of the applications that I saw were MIG welding applications, and there were more people trying to do stuff with them, you know, with the MIG welding tools versus, you know, TIG or. Um, is there any other? There's laser welding, right? Are there any
Yeah,
other technologies that people are trying to automate?
but I don't think that really, no, not that are mainstream. So, um, TIG's the big one that's I've seen people do, but it's just not like off the shelf. You can buy a table so you can program your part and run it,
Okay.
Um, but not sure where it's gonna go. I just know there's gonna be more of it. I'm trying to get it to the point where I can have something for small batches and usable, um, relatively easy to program. Because I'm getting towards the 10 to 50 part ranges, and after 50, I'm not the best suited for that at the moment. I'm trying to be able to handle the multi-100,000 units. Not that I can do production myself, but if I can get a machine to,
How do
we'll
you
be in a
see
good.
like scaling your business in the future? Because you're, you know, if you're producing welded parts, are you going to design, you know, a cell that does a certain type of part and then start hiring like one person to assemble those welding cells, you know, or are you going to search for an existing cell? Because now there's multiple companies I know of that are out there making cobot welders.
Yeah,
So it's like something that you could just purchase and then hire people to run, but you also have the know-how to design one, you know, kind of yourself, and
I
even
would
have your
rather
people like build the welding cells.
if there was something that fit the bill and that did the job, I would definitely want to entertain that. Um, I think getting, yeah, until I get like a tube laser, the other thing is just having the robot to not only be able to weld, but to plasma cut large holes and things perfect. I think there's a large benefit there. We do a lot of large vessels where we got to modify and add ports, and drilling a 6-inch hole in quarter-inch stainless on a curved tube is not fun. So plasma
Does
cutters,
not sound fun.
a lot of grinding, and so it's like that's a big one I see out there, and that's done. So it's like okay, maybe I can just buy one of those rather than trying to build one. But I'm getting to that point to be able to make those decisions.
What's like the size and scale of the type of part you deal with? Like a really long piece of pipe, or do you deal with little sections of them? Do you do like huge, or
Right,
just everything, all the things?
large. It's like we're pretty much divided between a lot of detail parts that are the size of that you can fit between your hands. There's a lot of things that size that need like detailed parts and a lot of battery components and small tubes and ferrules and fittings. But then there's like the large frames, which we're getting, a lot of things are going from mild steel to stainless frame wise. And then that's the other piece that's kind of easier to automate, welding the frame but the normal tabletop laser welder robot wouldn't work, is if I could have a larger cell with the laser that we could weld all around a frame.
I was the direction I was starting to move with that question is a mobile robot, and curious if you've ever thought about that, or the challenges of, say, you've got to power a welder, or you got to wander away from a welder and have like a really long cable to actually do this huge, get around this huge frame, or figure out how to carry the unit around with you. But just curious if you've wrapped your head around that notion yet, if you thought of solutions.
Nothing revolutionary. We move the welder pretty good, so we get where we need to. But yeah, the next facility I'll have a lot more space and bigger machines, so things will get harder. But yeah, trying to automate what we can. Even right now, Joe Biden just trying to push about more tariffs on steel coming from China. So, the steel industry here is going to be getting a boom from that.
Right.
And people want to make things here. So we just got to find a way to make them more affordable so it's not such a painful change. That's the whole goal.
Agreed. I'm curious to see where we, the more, because we already have a welding shortage, and we've already got multiple companies now trying to figure out like how to automate welding. But I want to see how we automate giant welding and complicated welding, because
I think the bigger stuff, some of the bigger stuff, you just like, I don't know, they have a lot of like automated pipe welding now. It's kind of blowing up. And that's how I'm scaling in a whole nother way, is just with the orbital welder. And, it took me 15 years to learn how to weld the pipe like that. And this thing can do it, but you just got to pay it 30 grand.
You got to pay it 30 grand and then make sure that there's 30 grand worth of pipe to weld once it's there.
I've made that leap. It's been a huge asset to us, and we've been able to use it on a lot of different projects already. So making welds faster, cheaper, and better quality.
So how many welders do you have on staff right now?
I have only 2 full-time. So right now we're still small, but I got one other guy coming on board. I have more, I got people asking me daily for jobs. They all want to work here, which is something I feel like not a lot of other welding shops are having, because we do clean work. But yeah, we're rapid growth right now. So I can't fit too many more bodies than where we're at.
That's a great problem to have. It actually makes me very happy to hear that. Do you see yourself scaling in the near future by adding more bodies, or by trying to automate more of what you're doing?
We're coming on next month, and partially to help with the move, but also all the different heavy lifting we got. And yeah, automate is the big goal. I've invested already this year in that orbital welder, so it's kind of like I bought an employee. So yeah. I have that, and I've been trying to use that as much as I can. I've already invested in a laser welder. That's kind of like another employee in my mind. So I'm just trying to maximize my investments, and divide and conquer. I'm at the point I have way more work than I could ever try to do myself. I was at forever. I wanted to be able to get to the point where I'd be busy, but I can keep 2 or 3 other people busy. At this point, it's trying to get off the roller coaster of next week's sales and start thinking about like next year's sales.
That is, yeah, the feast and famine cycle
Mm-hmm.
and escaping from it. So what percentage of your time now do you think you actually spend, it like in the business versus on the business?
Probably 50-50.
That's good. I would love to be able to invest 50% of my time into growing instead of just trying to stay afloat.
It's a kind of 100%, and I'm kind of staying afloat right now because we're so busy that I'm swamped. But I know where I gotta get in order to get to that next step. It's just trying to balance out, not overwork my guys or myself or my family.
Yeah, I mean, keeping that. I've been hearing people now, instead of using the term work-life balance, saying work-life integration, having a good work-life integration. I've watched, I'm on Facebook 900% for watching everybody's babies grow up, and I'm still connected with you and your family, and watching it grow, and you make time, not just for business, but for family life. So
No,
what
shout out to, definitely wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. So
yeah, right on. No, I was going to say, what advice do you have for other young entrepreneurs with young children, and it feels occasionally like you're just drowning in life and dying. So what's your advice to young entrepreneurs trying to do it?
It only gets worse. So unfortunately, time keeps shrinking, but I think I'll get it back sometime. But I mean, it's just about time management, right?
This is true. What do you specifically do for time management, or are you just naturally good at it?
Well, not easy. I have been doing Monday.com. No promotion there, but it has helped somewhat.
You say, not that we don't promote things, because we do promote things on the show, but we also plug tools that we find useful for other people. I've been considering trying Monday, because I know one of the other ladies in our group has tried that, among Trello and some other it's like project management software. Am I correct?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Also can do cost tracking, and I do have a business coach. I've not worked with a lot, but enough that he kind of pushed me over the fence. It's like, yeah, you need to get it. Like, once you just, and I'm at the point, I have too many projects to juggle at once. There's no way I can remember which parts have been ordered, and
yeah,
the little things that it's just, it'll slip through if it doesn't have something attached to it.
So you find that tracking it somewhere, digitally, it sounds like, is kind of the direction people need to go now. But tracking all your to-do item digitally.
It all goes back to the paper, though. I mean, that's where it all. I mean, I have a whole my desk is full of papers because I'm constantly taking notes. So that's where it's always been. And like the daily debrief, or at the beginning of the week, trying to get the to-do list right so you don't drop things. It's basically the same thing. The best thing about Monday is that it can be shared with your team members. So it's not on a piece of paper and it doesn't get lost. And it's actually another task for me, but the end goal is to spread the load.
Yeah, that the ability to, because I'm in the thick of it myself. Having somebody hired to help reduce your workload actually increases your workload for the first however long it takes, because you need to invest time and money into this person before they can really Like they're never going to be fully in your head, but they have to be in your head enough, to be able to execute tasks the way you do. But man, that's a whole other episode. I think sometime we got to talk about scaling and being able to duplicate these people once you have one of them. Just be like, now go clone yourself, please. I need 3 of you. So as we get down to the last 3 minutes of the episode, what's the 2 most important questions? So I'll ask you the first one. What's like an ask that you have of the audience?
Shoot. Guess any advice on the website? I'm trying to upgrade that, but that's an easy one for people to check. But yeah, anything, from me, it's an outsider's point of view of what our site on first appearance brings to mind and what can help that focus in on our customers.
All right. Right on. And then the other question is, if people want to reach out to you, either to say hi or to request work, what is the best way to reach you? Where do we find you?
You can go to just send me an email, steve@sanitarywelding.com or sanitarywelding.com, and check it out, contact page, and you can get a hold of me there, no problem.
All right, right on. Well, we're winding down the last several seconds. Again, this is kind of a funny situation because I don't have admin privileges, so I don't know how to go not live anymore. But I want to thank you for joining us today, and thank anybody.
Appreciate you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking forward to this one. And our YouTube audience, anybody in the YouTube audience, thank you for joining us. This is going to be, an episode that's downloadable on Spotify and YouTube and wherever else you get your streaming from. This will be a downloadable episode later. So thank you again for joining us this week. And my technical solution to this is going to be that I'm just going to leave the studio. And it should capture my recording. And if you do the same, it should capture your recording. And we will not be live anymore. So thank you again for joining us this week. Appreciate you, Steve.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.